Confession, Florida Georgia line. I don't think this is confession today, but we're going to visit with the new superintendent, or I should say the new president and principal of Faribault Bethlehem Academy. Dr. Chuck Briscoe is with us this morning on AM Minnesota. Before we get to the good doctor, I'm really looking forward to Monday's show too. Peter Van Sluis, co-chair of the Vietnam Memorial Wall, coming to Faribault next week. Kirk Mansfield, who's also co-chair, he's the chaplain of the American Legion. They will be in studio to tell us all about the happenings next week, and you'll want to be part of this. They're still looking for volunteers. They had a terrific turnout of their volunteer gathering at the Legion a week or so ago. I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately, but I know Peter told me the other day that they had over 70 people there. That's awesome. Jerry will host on Tuesday. We will be visiting with folks from the Defeat of Jesse James Days on September the 8th. So we got some programs to book in between there, don't we? Better get cracking. Again, our guest today is Dr. Chuck Briscoe. He is the president and principal at Faribault Bethlehem Academy. So is the president like a superintendent?
Yeah, it's like a superintendent. I tell some, it's the first time in my career I've kind of been in charge of myself, but you do, you wear the superintendent's hat, but then you wear a principal's hat. So I'm wearing a lot of hats, but it's, I knew what I was going to get into, and after almost a month, I'm loving it. It feels like I've been here a little longer, but it's a good school, and we're gonna just get better.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how did you get wind of all this? Did somebody call you from Bethlehem Academy? Knew you from your Hill Murray days, or?
Well, that's a long. My wife's been in a tough cancer battle. She got better, and then it came back. And I'd been driving the Hill Murray from the Dundas Northfield border for almost 2.5 years. I knew I couldn't keep that drive up, and so this thing kind of came out of the blue. We for 10, 12 times a year we go into Donahue's greenhouse. My job in the greenhouse is I'm not supposed to pick anything out. I'm supposed to shove the cart around or stand by the cart. So I was standing by the cart, and a person came up and asked me if my name was Chuck. I said yes, and said, well, I've been praying you'd walk in. So that's the first time in my life somebody said, I walk in a store, they've been praying I walk in. But they talked about the opening. I've been on WCCO a few times with Mike Max. They must have watched one of the clips. And so, it was a lot of prayer, a lot of kind of gut-wrenching decision. That's maybe the best job I ever had. But, I always tell seniors, family and faith have to come ahead of your job. I could always get another job. And so I joined the team. And I'm pretty good at taking a school that's good, but getting them to a higher level. And I saw the potential. And it was just a good match. Sometimes you just match up, and we aligned ourselves. And the Cincinnati sisters were very persuasive, and it worked. So I'm not looking back.
So you were at Hill Murray when the Faribault Falcons played Hill Murray in the state football tournament a couple of years ago.
Yes, I probably would have been. Yes.
I can't remember the exact year. I think it was 2013 or something like that.
Yeah. So I left the school that's, we always used to say we lined up to play, and we take on all comers, and I believe Bethlehem Academy has that same philosophy. They certainly like to compete in not only athletics but academics, and that's the only kind of place I'd like to be, where you're competitive and not only in the classroom but beyond the classroom. And so it's a good place to be. So
you're thinking that's a really good fit for you.
I think it's a good fit. I've spent as much time in outstate and smaller towns as I have the metro, and for me it's got a nice down home feel.
Yeah. So. I like small towns, small schools too.
Yeah.
We're going to get to know Dr. Briscoe a little bit more, and a little of his background. I know he's a Columbia Heights native, and he went to St. Cloud State University, played some football there, right?
Yeah, my job was to make a pile, and I could do that pretty well. Yeah.
Make a pile. I like that. We're going to visit more with Dr. Briscoe, the new president principal at Faribault Bethlehem Academy. School starts next week.
3 quarters and 3
So
Live and feeder cattle are mixed.
Yeah, I'm used the same way though. I try to get them talking
Watching
about
the direct cash cattle
in fact, when
markets
the
and seeing if there's
World
any
War
business
II
left
Memorial
to be
opened in
done.
Washington,
There are some
D.C., I
asking
offered to
prices,
take
but
them
no
out
bids
there.
have been
He said,
reported
I
yet.
don't want to go.
August lives
And I
of
said,
7
why
at
not? I said, these were your
112.55, October's
comrades in
32
battle.
higher
He
at
said, that's a chapter
108.80.
of my life I just
September
as soon
feeders
not
are up 2
revisit.
at 141.82. And at a discount to cash and on an oversold bounce, October
So we're doing
volumes
okay?
are
That's kind of what.
257 at
Okay.
Might need you a
61.27.
little closer.
December's now
You can grab a
230 higher at
microphone closer to you too, as far
56.77.
as that goes.
We are online at Brownfield Ag
My
News.
knee's kind of up against the drawer here, so I'll
Again, your opening market report is a service of Northland Buildings. For quality post-spring construction, head to the website northlandbuildings.com. And Ag Power Enterprises, your John Deere dealer. They have locations in Owatonna, Hollandale, Belle Plaine, also Osage and Northwood, Iowa. The new principal at Bethlehem Academy, Dr. Chuck Briscoe, is our guest today on our AM Minnesota program. Let's get a little bit of your background. First of all, Chuck, thanks for coming in today.
Well, you're welcome. Anytime I get a chance to talk about education and kids, I'll take it. So.
And what sold you on BA, I'm sure, are some of the statistics that I just happened to look on their website and find.
Okay.
For example, their student to faculty ratio of 12 to 1.
We've got small class size, so we we know you by name. We know, love, and respect you. I work hard on. I actually memorize the name, so when you walk in on Wednesday, I'm going to greet you by name. So I'd say, Gordy, glad to see you. So that doesn't happen in. I was in big schools a long time, and there'd always be somebody. We had classes of. Each class had about 400. There'd be somebody at graduation. I'd shake their hand. It's like, man, I didn't. I not only didn't know the student, I didn't know their name, and that's not a good thing. So you don't get lost at a school like BA. We know you. We see the good things. If you get off track, we see it, and we get you back on track right away. So
Yeah, that's the beauty of the small class size. 99% graduation rate.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen everywhere either. So if you start with us, we're going to work hard with you and your family to get you to shake hands at graduation and get you to the next level, whatever that is.
They have a one-to-one laptop program and, of course, classroom iPads. In fact, they were one of the pioneers in this state on that.
They were one of the first schools that adopted that, and even schools now that do it, it's usually 9 through 12, and so we're one of the first schools that our middle schoolers all have a laptop.
You think that's a good move?
I think it's a good thing because I think it lets education go beyond our four walls, and I think it's made, it's opened up teachers. I've seen teachers blossom with that. Hill Murray went to that when I was there, and it just was amazing when you watch lessons, what could happen and what could happen beyond the classroom. So it's a good thing. Learning should not stop at 305. It should continue.
And it should be fun. And
should
kids
be fun.
Today's generation likes working with technology.
Yeah, they're the pioneers in that. So yeah,
they grew up with it. They feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You know, some of us old guys like me aren't quite as comfortable with it. But
I tell kids about stories about what we didn't have when I was a kid, and they think I'm making it up, so I stopped. So I don't say it.
Yeah, I was in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. My little brother come over and watch television. One day I remember he was sitting in the couch, which is probably 2 feet from the television. I said, you can switch the channel wherever you want. Throw me the changer there, Gordy. I said, throw you the changer. 2 steps and you're right by the.
Yeah.
You didn't know you could, do that.
No, they don't know what rabbit ears or what 3 channels are, black and white TV. Nobody's ever heard of that. So
you've been at a lot of different schools, public and private, right?
Yeah, a lot of my career was in public education. I started out as I taught. I was in special education and remedial reading. I taught in Jackson, Minnesota, then went up to Apple Valley. I taught, I coached, and then I crossed over to the dark side, as they say. I became a principal, and I did my internship there, and then I went down to Little Wells Easton and helped put United South Central together. It really grew my career. I went out to Wilmer for quite a few years, then went to Stillwater, and then I had a chance to go down and open up Century High School in Rochester, and we pretty quickly, I think, became the best school in a good town. I mean, people used to advertise their homes that they were in the Century School District, so I knew houses were worth more in our attendance area, and felt pretty proud of that. We had a great faculty, great students, supportive parents, and I thought even I was okay. So I was there a long time, and wanted to end up as a small town superintendent and needed to get some district office experience. So I was selected to be the associate superintendent for Anoka Hennepin. So I went from a building of about 1,700, and I was in charge of about 20,000 students. 14 large buildings, curriculum, assessment, research, special ed, English as a second language, the athletic directors, and other duties as assigned. And I was having a lot of fun, and then life kind of got in the way. My wife was in a very serious car accident on Highway 3, and then I got talked into going to, and I stopped working for a while. Then I went to work at an international college prep school, and then Jill Murray called, and took 3 miracles to get me in there, but she survived a cancer bout, and so it was a great fit for me. So I went from kind of on the other side of the table in public, big schools, to now I was in private, and you quickly learn in private is that you don't have an attendance area, nobody has to go there, and you're competing against free. And so you have to have a strong message about why do you want to give up free and come here.
Yep.
And so the thing we're going to work on strengthen at BA is we're going to get down our best 2-minute elevator speech. So if I see you in a store and you ask me, well, can you talk about BA, I need to be able to say, this is why you want to come here, and I need to we have got small class size, we've got great faculty, good success beyond high school, but we all have to kind of sing from the same songbook because we want to get our enrollment up a little bit, and that's only going to go up if we do a good job out there spreading the word, and that doesn't happen just in the walls, so that's why I'm down here. I spent a lot of my first month out drinking coffee and making connections because we have to get our message out beyond the wall. No one's going to walk, you're not going to walk up to BA and come in and just talk to me. I got to come down here and talk to you about it. So
Sure. I like the idea of not just dealing with the person's mind, but also dealing with the heart, and that's what
we've got great values. I mean, religion's a part of the Catholic religion, but I think every family wants to have a school for their son or daughter that's got strong values. I mean, we talk about respect, we model respect, but we really care, compassion, those are all part of our everyday. We live it and we breathe it. I mean, this is our 152nd year as a school, and that's amazing in this size town that you read about our history, how it happened, and that still 152nd, 2 years later, we're still thriving. Kind of started on a dream and a wish of a person who was dying, that would you take care of these children, and so we've done a really good job taking care of children for 151 years. We want to do it. I'm not going to be around for forever, but we want to keep it rolling so that it's always a resource for the community.
Yeah. Again, Dr. Chuck Briscoe is with us. He is the president and the principal at Faribault Bethlehem Academy. School begins, I think, next week, right? Do you have orientation or something?
We have orientation for all students on August 30th, and the first, quote, real day is August 31st. And we're, once athletics get started, it's the end of the summer for, most 3/4 of our kids are involved in at least one activity. About 100% are involved in activity, music, clubs. So small school, as a student, you gotta get involved, and they do, and they've been at it since last week, and they're ready to play. So
that's one of the biggest sales points too, I think. I went to a small school, Spring Valley, Minnesota, just south of Rochester. I went to school there, and you could get involved in every activity. I was not a great athlete or anything. I probably wouldn't even have played at a big school.
Yeah, there's a place for everybody. We need everybody. There's a place you can get involved in theater. I mean, Mr. Gardner, the band director, he's been there for I think 40 years, and he told me last week he has 100 students now. We're not quite 300 as a student, but he has 100 kids in his band. I mean, that's amazing that many students can get involved in it, and he takes great pride in not only teaching you one instrument, but there's lots of students say, I play 3, 4, 5 instruments. You're not going to do that, I don't think, in a big school. There may not even be a spot for you. So we've got a place for everybody to get involved and to grow, and once you get involved, who knows where that takes you.
Columbia Heights, you grew up?
Yeah, when I grew up there, it was a pretty blue-collar Polish neighborhood, and it's become quite diverse now. I grew up right on the Columbia Heights northeast Minneapolis border. And I don't think we realized how tiny our houses and streets were till I come back there, and it's like, boy, these are pretty small homes. But that's all we knew. And so we did. Back in that day, you played hard. You played whatever sport was in season. When that season ended, then you played the next sport, and then you just moved on. So when we were kids, you kind of organized one another. You went to the park, you picked sides, and you played. And we really didn't have the kind of adult direction that kids. I mean, I didn't know what. I mean, I played summer baseball, but we didn't have. The coaches were either people hired by the city. It isn't like it is now where you've got traveling this and our idea of traveling was we walked down to the park and played a game, and you might go to a park in another neighborhood, but I didn't play any traveling anything, and I thought I was pretty competitive. So whether that's, I don't want to get into that topic today, but I think that it was a good place to grow up, and a small, close to the metro, not a real big city, and good faculty, and it got me to the next level of learning. So I was prepared to learn.
Before you hit the airwaves, you were saying that you were the only kid in your family that went to a public school.
Yeah, first one in, and so I thought I was going to go to Totino Grace, and it family situation didn't allow me to do it, so I went to Columbia Heights, and I felt that we probably had about 400 students in a class, so we were not as big as some of the schools, but much bigger than I've worked in, and we were it was a good place to be. Went to St. Cloud State from there, and then the rest is history, I guess, beyond that. So I had an interest in teaching, and some of the best influencers in my life were teachers and coaches, and I thought, maybe I could grow up to be like that, and so that's the route I took.
And then decided to get on the administrative side of things.
And I don't know why, because sometimes I've saved a lot of my old yearbooks, and I was in Jackson teaching and coaching and happy, and sometimes kids will say, well, what do you want to be doing 5 years from now? And I looked at an old yearbook and I said, I'm going to be a principal, and I had no thought of it, but I started working on a master's at Mankato State, and went up to Apple Valley, and I kind of matriculated. Some people, they know they want to do that they teach 3 years and then they become. I grew up wanting to teach and coach, and the administration piece has kind of grown into me. I don't feel like I've been around a lot till I told the staff I've been a principal for 30 years, and a lot of good memories. I know that's not an easy job, because I think I've shook hands with about nearly 14,000 seniors at graduation, and I have yet to have any student come back and say, hey, guess what? I'm a principal. So there's a shortage in that job. It's not easy, but it's rewarding, and you touch a lot of lives in a good way, and so got a lot of memories, good memories.
Wife's doing okay, I hope?
She's holding her own. She in 2013 got diagnosed with probably the worst cancer drop, pancreatic. I knew that was bad right away, and the doctor said, well, don't look online. Well, it's hard not to look online, and you learn that the survival rate for that for even a year is 4%. But the first words out of her mouth were, somebody's got to get in the 4%. Why not me? I'm going to go back and teach. She was been a great teacher. I was a coach. She was a really good coach. She started the gymnastics program in Jackson, won a lot of state championships. So she's the coach in the family, and it's kind of a god down in Jackson. But she got in a battle and had the Whipple surgery, and they only do it if you have a chance. And so she had a scan every 3 months. It was always clear. And then in May 2nd, had a scan, and it come back. And so now we're back in a battle. She's going to have a scan next week, and we're hopeful that'll give us a little clarity. But it's I know they do an amazing Relay for Life here. I knew about cancer, but when you live it, whether you're the person with cancer or the caregiver, it's a tough journey, but you just got to have faith and hope, and prayer. And prayer carried us through the first time, and there's a lot of people praying for her that she doesn't even know, and that's going to help us.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of VA folks will be.
Yeah, they call her. She's called out by name. I think she has a mass said for her almost every Sunday, so we're hopeful. That's all we can be.
Again, Chuck Briscoe is the president and the principal at Faribault Bethlehem Academy. Now you got the two titles. It sounds to me like you like being a principal. You don't know about the president thing yet, right?
Well, that was my goal 5 years ago, so I've kind of come full circle. I think that it's going to be a balancing act because you've got the principal kinds of duties, and then what I have to work on. We have to work on raising money. We got to raise some more money, so you have to get out and do that. And we also have to work on our admissions. We need a few more kids, so I plan to visit every Catholic elementary within 30 miles of BA. I'm going to go out there with I'll give you one of my fun meters with a fun meter.
I got a fun meter here.
With a fun meter and a hat. They're a little hokey, but I like hokey. And then what I'm trying to do is to families who have made the investment in Catholic education pre-K through 5 or 6 to let them know there's a way to continue that journey through high school. And so we'd certainly like to make a couple inroads into Northfield and Owatonna. We're not that. So I'm used to Hill Murray, folks drove as far as 40 miles one way to get there.
Sure.
And so I think we have to figure out a way to expand our circle here a little bit at BA.
Well,
I mean, we have to count on the families here that have supported us for 151 years, but we also have to say, can we get into some of the smaller towns? And we know we're not going to win them all, but I think our message is small class size, great teachers, values. We're one of probably the most affordable Catholic secondary school in the Archdiocese. And I'll tell families at orientation, my thoughts are you get one chance to do middle school and high school right. You don't get a chance to redo it. So if you don't do it right, you may never recover. So I think BA is a chance to get it right.
Well, I do recall over the years you've had students, not tons of them, but students from Owatonna, Lakeville.
Yeah, we'd like to get into
Morristown.
southern Lakeville. And so that's our goal, is how do we make that connection? Because it's all about a great elevator speech, making a connection, and then getting connected with families, because families start thinking about that even as early as kindergarten. They start talking about, some of our feeder schools in Hill Murray, they wanted to know how are your seniors doing on the ACT? What's your success rate? So they're not thinking next year, they're thinking 12 years out as a mom and dad. And then we also realize that nowadays that sons and daughters make that decision almost as much as mom and dad. So we got to make that connection with the students as well.
Feeling loved is an important part.
You got to feel loved. I mean, they've had the 4 pillars of prayer, study, community service. We do a lot of community service, and we look at not only the school but the entire community as part of our community. And so I think we're out there helping other people and spreading the word. So I think that if you're listening to this and you're as a mom or dad and you're thinking about it, shoot me an email. I do a lot of personal things. I mean, I'm going to go have a cup of coffee with every new family this fall, and what's working, what's not working. You get a whole different feel for a mom and dad when you're sitting around I like coffee, but I also like to know what are we doing right and what do we need to work on. So it's some of the personal things that we can do in a small school that you can't. I couldn't do it in a large high school. You just can't do it. It's too big.
No, and you were in the biggest school district in Minnesota. Right?
I was in the biggest school. There's no way I could go out and I could, in that size district, in charge of 14 buildings. I mean, I could almost count on something bad happening every day, and I had nothing to do with it. So there was a lot of days you felt like the guy in the parade following the horses. I mean, you were cleaning up a mess that you had no chance to even create it. So you were kind of the fix-it guy.
So here, I mean, you're probably going to have a lot more hats. Obviously, you got more hats.
Got a lot more hats, but you're also it feels like you're much more part of the solution. And the beauty of a small school is you and I can be talking about an idea today, and we could start doing it next week. In a big district, sometimes you get hung up by process, tradition, lots of groups you got to run it up the pole. But here at BA, we could talk about it, and if we can do it, we can say, let's try it. Let's try doing it next week. So,
well, I can tell you from personal conversations with the Nutter family,
yeah,
Brian and Pam, and their daughter Peyton.
Pretty good volleyball player.
Yeah, she's a very good volleyball player. But they just embraced and loved that move so much so that their other kids are going to school there.
Yeah, and I've met many families who are 4, 5, 6 generation families, and that wouldn't happen if we weren't doing it right. I mean, we may not be perfect, but we're doing lots of things that if your grandmother and your mother and that just doesn't happen everywhere. So there's a strong tradition of family connections, and we desperately have to count on that. We got it. We have to work on that and make sure that they know that it's a great place. So.
Yeah. And I know in speaking with Peyton, when she first went to school there, she was totally embraced by people at the school, and
right.
That's what she dove into the school and pours her heart and soul into everything she does there on the volleyball floor. I'm not saying she wouldn't do that other places, but what I am saying is she loves that school.
Yeah, she loves the school, and the students there I mean, I tell you a funny story. When I started talking about private schools, I used to always say, I hope, when I was at Hill Murray, I'd say, I hope a Rochester kid doesn't hear this because we had great kids there, but
sure.
I think the difference I found in public and private is the private school kids realize that somebody, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, is making an investment, and they realize that hard work and following the rules is part of the deal. And so I'm really confident that the BA kids will be the same as I left. I mean, I always thought I could have left Hill Murray for a month and a fight's not going to break out. There's nothing bad's going to, because the kids realize that somebody's made an investment in their education and they want to work hard at it. So I think that's the difference. But I was on a panel in St. Paul talking about education, and right next to me was sitting Daryl Thompson. So I just get done saying, I hope a Rochester kid never hears this. So when he grabs the mic, he says, I was a Rochester kid. So
yeah.
Everybody kind of laughs, and I knew he was. So, but that's the difference. I think that everybody who's attending there, they want to go. Their family wants them there. So we really don't have anybody in the school who doesn't want to be there. And you can get some good things going when you have that environment.
I have a plaque in my garage that says, "Believe in miracles."
Right.
And I think every human life is a miracle.
Yes, I certainly, I've seen several miracles the last few years, and I think you got a couple of choices. I mean, you can choose your attitude, but you can say there is a bright side, and you can find it every day. I mean, you can either put your poor me card on, or you can say, I'm going to work hard, and there's a solution out there. You gotta have faith that there's a better. There's no way you can't fix yesterday, but you can have a better tomorrow if you want to work at it.
And that's what you can learn by attending at Faribault Bethlehem Academy. Thanks, Chuck. Look forward to some more visits.
Yeah, you can have me back anytime. I come down here, a cup of coffee, I'll be down here.
Yeah, the price is right.
Yeah.
Dr. Briscoe, our guest this morning on AM Minnesota. We'll learn about the Vietnam traveling wall on Monday. You're in tune to KDH.